Thank you so much. Nice to be here. Nice to start a Strasbourg week in Brussels. Nothing better. So, High Representative, dear Kaya, dear ambassadors, dear colleagues, thank you for giving me a few moments of your time this morning. I would like to start by saying that we should not understate how serious the situation is, how crucial our next steps will be, or how important a role Europe will need to play. Every week, it seems, we are faced with a new geopolitical challenge, and we, as Team Europe, cannot be found wanting. Kaya and I sometimes, meet early in the morning and wonder what this week would bring to us, and how, when we found ourselves in these positions, how important it is that we work together. We are in a new world, a more unpredictable world, a more dangerous world. And for a union that operates very well on predictability and on certainty, the last months have been difficult, to put it mildly. In this new world, we no longer have the luxury of time to take decisions in the way we have always taken them and expect the world to understand. We need to start to see the world as it is rather than how we wish it to be. Meaning that where decisions need to be taken faster, we need to take them faster. And where a decisive stance or action is required, we need to take it without hesitation. We need the courage, I would say, to free ourselves from the habits that too often hold us back and pull in the same direction. Our message to the world is that they should not underestimate Europe's resolve, strength, and willingness to act. We need to allow Europe to be seen as the credible actor that it is. Nowhere is that urgency clear or more clear than in our sustained and consistent support for Ukraine, where we understand that Europe's commitment as we enter year 5 since Russia's illegal invasion must match the level of the threat, and the threat remains clear, it remains present, and it remains very real. Ukraine knows that they can rely on Europe as they keep up the fight with immense courage and pride. And as we try to find paths to peace, our position remains unchanged. It must be a real peace, with integrity and with dignity, based on the principle that nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, and certainly nothing about Europe without Europe. But we are only as strong as the next crisis, which is why how we continue to respond, and I will shift now to what is unfolding in Iran, is so important for Europe to get right. The events of the past 9 days have finally cracked open a window of opportunity for change. But they have also exposed how far a desperate regime clinging to the remnants of power is willing to go. Iran's attacks on the Gulf, including in the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman, they are condemnable, they are unjustifiable, and they must stop immediately. Just as every member state must know for certain that we will stand together to face down any threat. And in this regard, we must continue to stand with the people of Iran. Their fight for freedom and the ability to choose their own destiny is not political, but existential. And let me point out that rarely do we see unanimity in our chamber. But our resolutions on Iranian protests have in the last years always come as close to that as possible. The Gulf countries are important strategic partners in these efforts. When I visited the United Arab Emirates for the EU-GCC speakers meeting last year, we discussed between us the very risks that are now unfolding across the region, and it's as if to underline the urgency of those conversations, the Iranian regime attacked Qatar during that very visit. That is how quickly theoretical threats become real. It is the same conversations that we've had on our European neighbourhood. I don't think I have spoken to a single head of state, government or ambassador who does not agree with criteria-led merit-based enlargement as a geopolitical necessity. And yet, the Western Balkans, Ukraine, Moldova, they have been looking to Europe for years. Some have reached important milestones and are looking to us to match their reforms with a response. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The longer we drag our feet, the more space we leave for others to fill in the void. Now, Parliament has a critical role here in building legitimacy for the decisions that we take in all contexts and across the globe. And in this, of course, we cannot begin to have a serious discussion about strengthening our neighbourhood, our immediate neighbourhood, without resetting our relationship with the United Kingdom. I was in London a few weeks ago, and from our meetings with the Prime Minister, Speaker and Members of Parliament, I can say that the mood was extremely positive. For the first time in a decade, if you will, there is a shared awareness that this is the moment to build new bridges, a real willingness to find pragmatic solutions that respects the decision of the British people while responding to the realities that we face today. And there is a window of opportunity to find a way forward that may not exist in perpetuity, and we should do well to seize it now. It is also that spirit that needs to guide the new transatlantic relationship. We have our disagreements, sometimes loudly, but the alliance will remain the backbone of our common security and trade. In the words of Thomas Jefferson, every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. And that, in my view, is what our transatlantic alliance is about. It is why it endures. That is not to say we should be naive or that we should not be open-eyed to today's reality, because we must and we will continue to adapt to the best interests of Europe. Now, when I addressed this conference last year, I said that when you look to the European Parliament, you will find a reliable partner. And that has not changed. And I met a lot of you in run-up to today, and I promised to be candid, and I will continue to be candid in that vein. The next steps are far too important for us to get caught up in institutional divides. I understand that we each have our own channels, but a real Team Europe moves in tandem, not in parallel. I don't want members of the European Parliament at your heels. I want them to be by your side, because that is how we project through European strength across the globe. It was members of the European Parliament who led the difficult path to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organisation. It was members of the European Parliament who championed the idea of Ukraine's EU membership. They have built bridges everywhere with Moldova and the Western Balkans. They're engaged in Latin America and Asia and in Africa. And through our parliamentary networks with 160 national parliaments, our job is to pass messages and our job is to open doors. Trade agreements go through national parliaments, parliaments that we negotiate with and engage with every day. Our capacity building initiatives, democracy support work, inter-religious dialogue efforts and EU election observation missions around the world, these earn the European Union and Team Europe credibility and respect. In international fora like the G7 and the G20, our relationships with lawmakers help move the European agenda forward. And our commitment to parliamentary diplomacy is only getting stronger. It is the reason why we made strategic choices to boost our presence in Washington, in the Western Balkans and in the Eastern Partnership countries, and why we have antennas in Latin America, in Asia, Africa and the United Nations. They are not extra. They are critical and they need to be seen as such, where ambassadors recognise their value and ability to open doors, because that is where Europe delivers the best, and I've seen it on the ground, how good it can be when we deliver at our best and where we are best regarded. I want to end on a hopeful note. I have no doubt in our collective ability, and here I turn to you, to meet this moment in history of embracing that which only Europe can do across the world, of understanding our power in promoting value-based leadership, in supporting liberty, equality of opportunity, the rule of law, and how when we cooperate we all win, in showing people in accession countries that their hope is not in vain, that our 12 stars mean as much to us as they mean to them. There is a reason why more and more countries wish to join the European Union. There is a reason our enemies have invested so much in undermining our way. There is a reason that people on the streets of Iran look to us. Why elections in the Western Balkans are won and lost on the promise of Europe. People believe in Europe. Europe still means hope. Sometimes we just need to see it within ourselves and remember that away from resolutions, conclusions, reports and institutional relations, we matter to people. Do not underestimate the importance and the impact that you all do for people. So thank you for flying our flag around the world. Let's keep building together.